Hey party people, got another quick one for you today. I'm gonna end up creating the board schema for the next one, but the board is gonna rely on pieces, so I wanted to make sure I had a piece schema set up first. This, you can think of it as setting up a table. So each of these are the required columns. Um, that everything here is required, whether or not a piece is moved, the row and column, color and type of piece. Now, the only pieces that really matter whether or not they've moved yet this game are going to be the rook and the king. Pawns, we can tell whether or not they moved based on the row they're on. But the rook and the king, they could end up in their original locations, but that doesn't mean you can castle. So that's why has moved has to be there. So import Mongoose. Mongoose is setting up the schema. This is how we're going to send information over to the database. So the type of piece is an enumeration for the 6 different chess pieces. Color is either white or black, and then row and column have a minimum number of 1 and max of 8. I am not going to zero index them for the database. That's just because I'm trying to represent a chessboard, and in real life, a chessboard uses A through H and 1 through 8. Um, so in real life, a chessboard is not zero indexed. Now I know I'm not using A through H, but that's just because converting these to a 2D array to represent the chessboard, I think is going to be easier with just numbers. Um, yeah, so this essentially sets up a table, and then anytime you add information to a Mongoose database or a MongoDB, Mongoose isn't the database itself. Anytime you add something to MongoDB, it's going to give that thing an ID as its primary key. So if you don't have any background in database normal forms, you want to make sure that every row in a table, even though this isn't going to end up looking like a table, they're called documents. They're each individual things in the database. But it it requires unique rows, and so the ID is going to make a unique row, right? Every chessboard would start with the same 32 pieces in play. How are we supposed to tell the difference between a piece that's on my chessboard playing against my friend and your chessboard playing against your friend? Well, that's going to be because there's an ID we can search for. So that's really all there is to this video. And then we export the model. And the next thing to do with pieces is going to be creating controllers. How can we interact with pieces? I'm really only planning on being able to create and delete and update pieces, simply by changing their row, column, and has moved status. There is one unique instance where we can update the type, right? A pawn can be promoted. So we might be able to just update the type here instead of creating a new piece on the chessboard. So that's one nice use, forward thinking, for creating the type like this. Yeah. So nice simple video. This is what a schema looks like when you're setting up an Express backend. I don't know how else to put it. It's just we're using Express to set up our backend, and this is kind of defining what a table is going to look like. So, yep, see you in the next one.